Welcome to today's Explainer. I am so excited to have you here because today we're going to climb the evolutionary staircase of life together. We'll be looking directly at some foundational biological notes to track this incredible journey, starting all the way down with the simplest microscopic pioneers, the single-celled organisms that started the whole shebang, and moving all the way up to incredibly complex multicellular decomposers. We're going to trace exactly how life builds upon itself. So let's jump right in.
Here's our roadmap for the explainer today. First up, Kingdom Monera, our prokaryotic pioneers. Second, we'll hit Kingdom Protista and eukaryotic cells. Third is Protozoa, the animal ancestors. Fourth, Kingdom Fungi, the decomposers. And we'll wrap it all up with the fungal life cycle.
All right, Section 1, Kingdom Monera, Prokaryotic Pioneers, the absolute foundation of life. So the absolutely crucial point here is that Kingdom Monera consists entirely of prokaryotic cells. And being prokaryotic simply means they are simple, single-celled organisms that completely lack a distinct membrane-bound nucleus to house their genetic material. Basically, they don't have that protective inner vault. This defining characteristic makes them the most primitive, baseline form of life on Earth. But hey, don't let the word simple fool you. For these guys, simplicity is quite literally their superpower. Their immense adaptability is just brilliant. Because they're so fundamental and simple, their habitat is truly ubiquitous in nature. I mean, they survive everywhere, from the air we're breathing right now, to the water, to the dirt under our feet. There are also groups in here like cyanobacteria, that's your blue-green algae, and mycoplasm, which, incredibly, are the absolute smallest living materials and entirely lack a cell wall. Now, what's really wild is that this biological simplicity allows a specific classification called archaeobacteria to thrive as extremophiles. We're talking punishing environments where absolutely nothing else can survive. We have thermophiles living in boiling extreme heat, acidophiles swimming around in highly acidic pools, halophiles loving incredibly salty environments, and methodogens that literally produce methane. They are the ultimate biological survivors, no question. And it's not just about extreme environments either. We actually interact with the complex chemistry of these simple organisms every single day. For example, a fascinating group called actinomycetes are bacteria that uniquely resemble fungus just because they have this filamentous body shape. But more importantly, they're used to produce antibiotics. This simple little prokaryote gives us streptomycin, which is a vitally important antibiotic in modern medicine. Moving right along to Section 2. Kingdom Protista, eukaryotic cells. This is the big evolutionary step up. Here is our first major evolutionary leap of the day. We are now officially entering eukaryotic territory. Unlike the simple Monera we just talked about, eukaryotic organisms have cells that contain a well-defined nucleus. They've built a protective vault for their genetic material. Kingdom Protista consists of these unicellular eukaryotes, and man, it is a massive upgrade in cellular organization. Now, this kingdom acts as a wild biological bridge. Because it's the very first step into eukaryotic life, it contains distinct branches of organisms with characteristics that perfectly mirror the more complex kingdoms we'll see later. We've got animal-like Protista, known as protozoa, we've got fungus-like slime molds, and we've got plant-like Protista. It is a true evolutionary melting pot of single-celled life. Just to fully grasp this incredible diversity, let's zoom in on the plant-like Protista for a second. Consider that this single kingdom contains chrysophytes, like diatoms, whose distinct silica cell walls literally pile up to build silicious ocean floors when they die. That's enough tiny cells to pave the ocean. Alongside them are dinoflagellates, like goniolacs, which naturally exhibit glowing bioluminescence. And then you have Euglena. This is an amazing organism that lacks a cell wall, but has chlorophyll. So it occasionally acts as a predator, but it also photosynthesizes. It's literally a living bridge between plant and animal cells. All right, on to Section 3, Protozoa, the animal ancestors. Let's look at movement at the microscopic level. These animal ancestors are categorized perfectly based entirely on one thing, how they move, their locomotory organs. We have zooflagellates moving via a whip-like flagella. Think of leishmania or trypanosoma, which causes sleeping sickness. Then we have sarcodines, moving with pseudopodia, or false legs, like the famous amoeba. We have ciliates, using tiny hair-like cilia to swim around, like the paramecium. And finally, sporozoans, which surprisingly have no locomotory organs at all. They just hitch a ride. And this categorization directly impacts our daily lives in human history. Note that the sporozoans, again, the group lacking any organs for movement, includes Plasmodium. That is the exact parasite responsible for causing malaria in humans. So even as single cells, their impact on the world is absolutely monumental.
We even start seeing early hints of complex sexual reproduction here. Protozoa, like the paramecium, undergo a process called syngamy, specifically a type called conjugation. This is where two individual cells physically unite to exchange nuclear material before separating again. It's like a microscopic biological handshake, and it's a massive leap forward from the simple cell splitting we saw back in the Monera kingdom. Moving to Section 4, Kingdom Fungi, the decomposers, we are now entering multicellular complexity. We are making a massive structural leap right here. We've officially moved away from single cells, well, with the exception of yeast, to highly complex filamentous bodies. Think of a single microscopic thread, that's called a hypha. And when a whole group of these hyphae cluster and tangle together, they form the massive main body of the fungus, which is called a mycelium. We have officially entered the realm of multicellular complexity. Now, there is a very strict biological boundary drawn when classifying fungi. The true fungi, known as Eumycotina, absolutely must have a rigid cell wall made of a tough substance called chitin. But if we look over at Myxomycotina, they lack a cell wall entirely. This means those slimy false fungi or slime molds we often spot on a walk in the woods, they aren't true fungi at all. They are actually just protists in disguise. And there is massive structural variety within the true fungi. They're divided up based on whether their mycelium is aseptate, meaning it lacks internal dividing walls, or septate, meaning it has them. You've got the lower phycomycetes, like Rhizopus. You've got the ascomycetes, or sec fungi, which give us the penicillin in your medicine cabinet and the yeast in your bread. You have basidiomycetes, the club fungi, which includes the agaricus mushrooms you probably order on your pizza. And finally, the deuteromycetes, like trichophyton, which are unique because they only exhibit asexual reproduction. Finally, Section 5, the fungal life cycle. Let's look at the mechanics of reproduction. When looking at sexual reproduction in true fungi, the underlying concept is just incredibly logical and, honestly, kind of beautiful. First is plasmogamy. Two different hyphae come together, their cells share fluids, and their cytoplasms combine. But, and this is key, their nuclei remain totally separate in what's called a dikaryotic phase. Second is karyogamy, where those nuclei finally fuse together to form a true zygote. And finally, meiosis occurs. The zygote divides back into haploid biological seeds called spores, completely ready to grow into a brand new mycelium network. Taking a step back, it really is amazing to realize how far we've climbed today. I mean, we started at the very bottom with the simple asexual binary splitting of the Monera kingdom. And now, we're looking at a highly coordinated, multi-stage process of fusing networks and spore generation in fungi. The biological staircase is incredibly steep, and it is meticulously designed. We've officially reached the top of our evolutionary staircase for today's explainer. But you know, this journey leaves us with a fascinating, pretty provocative thought. If life on Earth so effectively evolved from simple, splitting cells without a nucleus into these vast, complex, spore-producing networks of mycelium, we have to ask, what entirely new biological structures, perhaps completely invisible to us right now, are quietly evolving right under our feet? Definitely keep that in mind next time you take a walk outside. Thanks so much for joining me on this climb, and I'll see you next time.